Good morning and welcome to Construction World and Infrastructure Today webinar series. The topic for today is the new Metro Lifeline. This webinar is supported by our gold partner J. Kumar Infra Projects and Datamatics. I'd like you to look at this video.
As a 23-kilometer long corridor metro with 4 underground stations passing through a very densely populated area of the city. We started in our train trials just 2 years and 2 months from start, which was a record in itself, probably the fastest in the world.
A project like Metro are generally critical in their planning and execution. All the facilities have been designed keeping overarching factors like passenger comfort, ease of commute, environmental sensibility, and economic efficiency. The stations have been planned keeping the prominent catchment areas and passenger load over differentiated time scale in mind. Moreover, the station design
Mass rapid transport system has emerged as one of the most effective means of mobility for citizens in Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities. And Metro has been a major player. Today, Metro Rail is operational in 13 cities and another 8 cities are either under construction or projects have been approved, which means that by 2022, Metro would be operational in over 20 cities in India. Metro projects are meant to cater to cities with population of more than 4 million. The Government of India has taken various steps for standardization and growth of Metro Rail in India. The Metro Rail Policy 2017 enables rapid and sustainable growth of Metro Rail in the country. These projects have not only added connectivity, they've reduced travel time and hence enhanced the ease of living substantially. It has also led to the creation of direct and indirect employment opportunities, giving fillip to the local business as well. Let me now introduce our esteemed panel. We have a very accomplished and esteemed panelists who are all well experienced in this, and we are fortunate to have them with us. So we have Mr. Bhushan Vartak, Vice President Datamatics. We have Mr. Vilas George, Partner and Head Infrastructure, Government and Healthcare KPMG in India. He was also former MD of Kochi Metro Rail. Mr. Kumar Keshav, Managing Director of Uttar Pradesh Metro Rail Corporation. Mr. Nalin Gupta, Managing Director of J. Kumar Infra Projects, constructing a lot of metro projects currently. Mr. Ramnath Subramaniam, Director Strategic Planning at Maharashtra Metro Rail Corp Limited. Welcome to all the panelists. Thank you for joining us. Before we go on with the discussions, I'd like to just say a few words about us, the organizers. So Construction World is the magazine running for last 22 years, a leader in construction information. It is distributed across 800 cities in India. You can see the cover of Construction World, where in November 19, Mr. Kumar Keshav, who's on the panel today, he was chosen as the Construction World Man of the Year. I'd also like to tell you that Mr. Elias George, when he was Managing Director of Kochi Metro Rail, he too was selected as the Construction World Man of the Year. And Mr. Nalin Gupta has also won as one of the top challengers in the Construction World Award. So we are fortunate to have 3 awardees on our panel today. You can see some of the stories that are there on the magazine. Another magazine that is a leader in infrastructure policy, Infrastructure Today, has been running for 16 years. and provides insights and analysis on infrastructure policy. ASAP, the company that publishes both these magazines, also offers digital services, which is the current new mantra of today's times. Some of our other publications also include Equipment India, Project Reporter. Project Reporter is a fortnightly magazine which provides information on projects with their contacts and contracts awarded, etc. In the engineering side, we have Industrial Product Finder, Indian Textile Journal, and of course, we have Indian Cement Review as well. So metro projects are to be the next trigger in construction. We have already constructed 670 plus kilometers and 850 kilometers are ongoing. So that's we have covered a lot of miles, and yet they don't seem enough because probably the connectivity and the seamlessness of transport is yet to show up. The National Infrastructure Pipeline, which was launched earlier this year by our Finance Minister and Prime Minister, they have estimated order book to be to the tune of 2.5 to 2.6 trillion, and the estimated investment for the segment during the period is to be 3.5 to 3.6 trillion. So it's a great opportunity for all, and 50 to 60% of the order book is likely to be in the construction segment. So that's good news for construction EPC companies. Okay, here you can see the capex which has been by the center and the state governments for the years. So you can obviously see that the center obviously contributes most of it, but for the financial year 20, amount was 2,71,000 crores, and 21, 4,21. So I think the largest spend was to come in the next year because a lot of metro lines were going to get completed by 22. I think this is going to see a 6 to 9 month of delay given COVID situation that has paralyzed the whole economy. But going forward, so you can see that it peaking out 21, 22, and maybe now as a result, this will all shift into 22, 23. But that's the size of now new projects approved in kilometers are given here, and the cities also: Ahmedabad, Dholera, Delhi Metro Light, Mumbai Metro, Meerut Metro, Nagpur Metro, Nagpur Broad Gauge Metro, Thane and Surat with their respective kilometers out there. Operational projects, Delhi of course leads the way, 348 kilometers. Then Hyderabad, followed by Hyderabad, then Chennai, Bangalore. These are much ahead of the oldest metro, Kolkata, and followed by Noida. Under construction projects, this is where you can see that the whole of India is actually virtually under construction. Mumbai Metro, which doesn't figure in the top because it's most of its kilometers are right now under construction, and you can see that the longest line there, which is likely to show up in the coming years, and we'll talk about it during the discussion. There are several projects under consideration as well. Now, whether these projects are really going to be sustainable or not, that is one more point of discussion. So we shall discuss that. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to do a poll for the audience, because this is also for our panelists to get a sense of the house. So audience, on your panel, we have options for you. There is a question and you need to answer the question. So which is your biggest fear in resuming travel by metro rail? And the options are: infection due to central air conditioning, infection due to co-passengers, infection due to crowded payment counters for tickets, or due to multiple surfaces that we touch during travel, or due to rush during peak hours. Choose one of the options and we will know which is your most critical fear. As you all know that the air services have already resumed yesterday. and obviously people have to deal with this fear when we resume and try to make things look like normal when they are not. So in a few seconds, we will know what the audience thinks about this, and then we can move on to the questions. Okay, so the people's fears mostly are infection due to rush during peak hours. Is the 41% of the audience feels that's the biggest fear. Second is infection due to co-passengers, 28%. Third is infection due to touching multiple surfaces during travel. So rush during peak, I think that's a good signal for the authorities to know that that's the biggest fear that is, in the minds of people. And maybe if we can tackle that, we can then, realize this. So now moving over to the panel for some questions. I think first we'll go to Mr. Kumar Keshav. So metro construction has been given a green light. Metro rail services are, of course, now the lockdown is coming to an end, and after the resumption of air services, all eyes are on metro. So, Mr. Keshav, how do you feel this can be now achieved going forward?
There is a challenge in front of the metro companies. That is true. First, I will talk about the construction, because project like Kanpur was progressing very well, but once the COVID-19 situation happened, and very rightfully all the works were stopped. So beginning of this month, we have started again. Gradually we are picking up, but there is substantial delay and loss of time. So that is one thing which all metros probably which are under construction will face. That is one thing. As regards operation, because Lucknow Metro is also operational, entire corridor. So operation is also stopped for nearly more than 2 months now. And the bigger challenge, as you rightly said, that people's fear are that I was also thinking that probably people's fear will be more on air conditioning system, but I'm very happy that they are not fearing that. Because there are certain guidelines which have been issued by ISRE, which is the International Society for Refrigeration, Air Conditioning, and this type of heating systems. They have given special guidelines for the COVID-19 situation, most of the systems to be operated in open mode. So with that, probably air conditioning is not an issue. So I'm also feeling that probably we will be able to take care of this air conditioning issue, these fears. And luckily in your survey also you feel that only 5% people feel. So people have understood this is not an issue. But crowd is certainly an issue, particularly with the metros which are operational for a very long time and sufficient ridership has already built in. So those situations, yes, we will have to worry about. We have taken a lot of measures, sanitization of the stations every night, sanitization of trains every night so that people don't touch the surfaces, the fear of touching the surface again and again. Then social distancing, putting special signages at the floor so that people know, yes, ticketing counters are little, we have to stand little away. One more thing which we will try to do this time is that 100% we will try to switch over to the smart cards. We have a Go Smart card. The idea is that people will top up on their own. They don't have to touch anything. They don't have to touch even that ticket vending machine. They can top up on their own and simply come to the stations with a contactless smart card and travel. So those type of the things which we will have to do. All metros will have to do now, and detailed SOPs are being drawn on those aspects. So should not be difficult, but people have to gain confidence. Metros have also to learn, and a lot of sanitization, social distancing, hygiene issues will be very important as well.
Some suggestions that came in, Mr. Keshav, about air conditioning. Like you said, that's the fear that everybody had. And I just like to just show you quickly what the suggestions included. So, some suggested that cooling trains before boarding and keeping them cool and using them only for shorter distances. But I think ISRE's guidelines are quite thorough, and there is no such transmission because it's a central. Maybe if it was window ACs, that caused some sort of a much more chances of infection. But this not being so, probably all the other.
Yes, Pratap, if I can contribute that good thing in the metro trains are that trains stop at every 1 minute, and all of a sudden all doors open. So there is an air conditioning inside, but lot of air goes out and lot of fresh air comes into the train. So every time intake of the fresh air is very high in the metro trains, and the whole guidelines of which they are basically to operate this air conditioning system in open mode, means more and more fresh air to come. So that fear probably is not there, because every minute this train is stopping. It is not a long distance air conditioning.
Okay, I would like to move to Mr. Gupta now. So, you know, problems during construction, Mr. Gupta, are obviously there now with the COVID times. What are the problems that you're actually envisaging when you resume work?
Well, as Pratapji, as you have said, we all know it's a testing time, and all the projects, as Keshav Saab has also mentioned, they have been taken for a toss. And today, the biggest challenge that we, in this lockdown of almost 2 months that we have been facing, was primarily to take care of the safety and sanity of the laborers, which are posted in the labor camps, and taking good care of them by providing them all the facility, including fooding, medication, sanitation, and most importantly, counseling them time to time to stay back in the camps, where after taking all the efforts and everything, still it has been really a big challenge for all of us. I guess all the infra companies are facing this problem, because all said and done, whatever best facilities you provide to any person, a continuous lockdown of 2 months has made them mentally, I would say, unstable, and to convince them to stay back has become a big challenge. So we are left with only like 20 to 30% of the labor strength all across the country. So that is, I think, one of the biggest thing. Though our team has done the team of J. Kumar, I would say, has done a commendable job by risking their own lives and providing all the facilities to the labor camps, taking safety care of the, safety of all the raw materials, because all the infra metro projects, they are on the center of the roads. So the security and safety of the material and machineries are again a challenge. So the team has done a good job, but I would say labor has a big thing.
What about monsoons? You know, now the monsoons are coming, Mr. Gupta, and this material and the underground kind of open ducts, etc. How are you going to manage that?
Well, for monsoon, we are doing the because the state government has been quite supportive, and they have given us permissions to start the work on all the essential works with whatever labor strength we have. So our primary motto was to take care of the all the drainage arrangements, and the pits which are unsafe are taken care of. So that the company has been looking into. And with regards to underground works also, one thing, any which ways, we have a good dewatering system being installed on all the underground projects. So whenever the works are taken up, we provide dewatering connected to the nearby drains. And also, it is important to see that if it's a heavy rain and if you don't have laborers, you don't need to do dewatering at certain times. You can just leave the water there. So, and if it is at a stage where you need to take care of the dewatering, there are proper dewatering systems installed there. So I don't think that to be a big challenge.
Okay. Moving on, I think the other aspect which gets affected is obviously the AFC work of ongoing metro projects. So I'd like Mr. Bhushan to come in now. So how did your whole project execution, did that come to a grinding halt with this? And how did metro authorities and you all then work on around this situation, Mr. Bhushan?
Yeah, you're right. You know, it came as a shock to the whole industry. But at Datamatics, we anticipated this problem and lockdown. And 1 week ahead of the national lockdown, we moved all our staffs to work from home to ensure that safety to their life. This also helped us to continue our operation very well in smooth manner. But let me also admit, the metro authorities in Mumbai also moved at a lightning speed. The way they adapted to this situation, I'm impressed. And they started thinking out of the box. How do we, move out from this current situation? And during this, 2 months, we have completed our design phase, our software, hardware, all designs complete. Even from TVM look and feel to the translation of the text is complete. So the work kept on moving with all our staff working remotely there. While paperwork is easy to do, but we also developed a software for the whole AFC system while working remotely. And our gates, the electronic gates, our ticket vending machines, while they were in the factory, my team working collaboratively from their home installed the software remotely to the factory, did the testing on the video conference, and once it is tested, we offered it to metro authorities. And let me tell you one thing, normally metro authorities wants to check the machine physically, test it, and then give the green signal for production. It was a decision taken by authorities, we will go for the video conferencing inspection, and they did a very meticulous job on video conferencing, testing each aspect of the gate. They checked every measurement with with vernier caliper on the video conferencing and ensure that the quality is achieved. It was a difficult task, but together with metro authorities, we completed a design on paper. We developed the test softwares, and the first article inspection in factory done remotely successfully. So I would say yes, we had challenges, but I think we have done good job there to continue the work and not get stopped and hogged by the challenges. So while this is on the ongoing project with the Lucknow Metro, which is our complete project, we are already started working to help them once they go live. The tokens, can be the risky mechanism where the infection can be transmitted. So we are already started working solution for Lucknow Metro in ahead of time. So the QR code tickets can be issued, so reduce the infection, because in the poll, people talked about just now the cross infection from co-passengers, and the token can be the medium between them.
Yes.
So we are already working during this lockdown a solution for QR code ticketing for Lucknow Metro ahead of time. So whenever Mr. Kumar Keshav decides, we will help him to roll it out very fast and smoothly. So while we are working on existing Mumbai project, we are also working for this. We are also working for our US projects. All our US travel was stopped. Luckily, I was supposed to travel for a design workshop. We postponed our visits, and we are back in Mumbai. And even that work, yes, even they are finding it hard, but they are also moving fast. So, and we have also started a big sales campaign for US during this lockdown, and I'm very happy we also started getting a lot of success in the sales campaign as well, and new opportunities are coming from US.
Okay.
So,
All right, let me.
for the challenge,
Yeah. Mr. Gupta, actually, I wanted to know that at a time like this, when the whole, basically metro construction work is very, very challenging because it's right in the heart of the city, and you have to deal with citizens, you have to deal with other transport, etc. So this was a time, the lockdown time was a period where actually these sites were virtually free, where you all could have actually been deployed in order to, accelerate the work. Why was this not done? I mean, was there some discussion on this?
Well, Pratapji, very well said, and we have already taken the best possible opportunity use that we could make. Like Mumbai Metro, as far as is concerned, we had been given a go-ahead to start the work by 20th of April. And as you rightly said that the roads are empty and the challenges are much less, we have taken the maximum, we have tried to make maximum use of it by even doing the erection jobs. Means I would say in the last 1 month, we have launched more than 500 elements. So it was being taken up on a regular basis and it was being done. But most importantly, the biggest challenge was labors. So I wouldn't say that yes, the work was being taken up the way it could have been taken up in a normal situation. But yes, we have tried to make the most optimum use of this time. But the most challenging part, which was like I would say in the efficiency or the progress of the work, was the availability of labors, the mindset of the labors. Firstly, the labor numbers had already started migrating well before the lockdown, when it was like on the 20th, when there was a Janta curfew. There was a feel that something is going to happen. So, and also being March and April being the worst part of the year, where laborers any which ways go to their hometowns for for arranging for their farming, for the marriages and many other things. That's the That's the standard time of the years. So we were left with only 50% labor any which ways. And after this lockdown, people were hesitant to come to the work. They were in the camps, but they were not willing to come. And when they started to come on the job and they started reporting, 3rd of May, where the government passed an order for shifting the migrant laborers back to their home, was the biggest, I would say, the block that we faced. Because all laborers who are willing to work, they also, when you given an opportunity, whatever best situation you place anyone into, when you are given an opportunity to go back, everybody has a craving, and with the lot of pressures from their families, they all migrated. So right now we are left with hardly 10-15% of the laborers. So that is the biggest challenge, I would say, which has restricted in the progress.
All right. Now I want to, go to the basic concept of metro, the sustainability. I think metro was, it's very difficult all over the world, and we have seen that, the exploitation of the commercial real estate, etc., helps, making these projects viable. So, Mr. George, you've been you've been on both sides. On one side, you've been the managing director of Kochi Metro Rail. On the other, now you're at KPMG, analyzing various situations. So, traffic estimation has been one issue which has gone wrong for several cities. Plus, we've got so many other projects coming up. Everybody thinks that metro rail is going to be the solution, whether politically or whatever, it seems to be the right thing to do. Where do you think, is this all going to be all viable in the sense the way we are going with 20 more odd cities going towards this?
Yes, out of 200 odd metro systems in the world, only a handful make profit. So what I'd say is, looking at the balance sheet alone is not a good way of evaluating a metro. Why do people build metros? Many cities want it because of the economic rate of return. The benefits of the metro rail do not come back to the company, the metro building company, whether it's a Lucknow Metro or a Kochi Metro or a DMRC. It goes into the city. It goes into the whole revival of the economic aura of the city, the investment levels there, ease, safety, comfort, especially women's comfort, security, and all that stuff, which is why cities build metros. So having said that, one thing we need to get better in India is to sort of monetize these benefits. Like we keep talking about transit area development, etc. It's a huge knowledge gap. Also, states need a lot of political courage is required to do those things. And one of the things which I've been telling my colleagues in the ministry also is that Government of India makes a kind of plug-and-play template for these things and pushes it to the state governments. It's much easier for them to do it. So one of on my wish list of the metro world of this country is that ready-made templates for transit area development, etc. A little push from the central government for these 20 odd metros would be a good way to do it, because a lot of complexities around land, also the huge knowledge gap. Now, coming to the last part of your question, in India, one of the problems we have is we are more obsessed with the outputs than outcomes. What is the outcome? Moving X people from A to B in Z amount of time. But then we get fixated on, we want a big metro, we want that shiny, the new toy syndrome, all these mayors and chief ministers go and push the Government of India. What are other solutions are there, like elevated? I mean, we have to be very open. As I said, less than 3 million or 4 million, it's not a great idea. Even Greater Kochi is only 2 million. Not saying that it's a bad idea to build a metro here, but I'm saying we need to go back into a habit of looking at outcomes first, especially in the post-COVID world, and decide, well, what do we do in India? We first decide we want a metro in city A, then we build a DPR around it. The DPR is made by the same people who have an interest in the outcome. So these are some of the things we need to fix. Very, very good project conception documents, project DPRs, basically focused on the outcome, not the output, is what I would say.
All right. Mr. Ramnath, I'd like you to also comment, because obviously Nagpur is going to take off, and plenty of, I'm sure, strategic planning taking place there as well to make it sustainable. What are your plans?
I think a couple of things that our MD has basically been focusing on and getting us to deliver, Mr. Vijay Dixit. I think the core focus area that we've clearly understood is that metros will never make money and are not expected to make money as well, as Ilyas ji already talked about it. Very clearly, we believe that the way the fares are controlled, it will be that about 40% will be the fare part of it and 60% will be the non-fare. It's the best case scenario of a Singapore or a Hong Kong model that we can look at. So with 40% being the fare cost revenue, we were fortunate that the DPRs of both Nagpur and Pune were constructed in such a way that 1% stamp duty was something which got added on, and development charges were put on to the DPR right in the beginning. I think the key part of this delta is that ensures that there is some visibility on the non-fare part of it, because ultimately 500 meters on either side, FSI of 4 and a 1% increase in stamp duty. These are two very, very strong potential revenue models that can come through, especially for a city like Pune, for example, where the monthly number itself is pretty substantial. This is a very, very strong model to do that. So these were two of the things that we have done on the non-fare side to try and make ourselves sustainable. The very other thing is, I'm fortunate that Elias George sir is here. On the AFC side, for example, I think Kochi started it off on the AFC side, and we have data metrics also, Mr. Bhushanji here, with a PPP model on the AFC side. Now we topped it up in Nagpur by saying that, boss, let's onboard a single bank, which we will give a per ticket transaction charge, but the entire banking operations of the metro would also be handed over to them. This in turn resulted into a capex. So if I take an average of about 3 crores per station as a capex and the 6th year upgradation. So in Nagpur we have say for 38 stations approximately. We're talking about 125 crores of capex plus an upgradation cost, about 180 crores of savings on the capex side for the metro, which again was a very strategic decision. Obviously started first by Kochi Metro, very well driven. We just added on to it by trying to put the entire banking operations onto it. We got a 30 crore premium in Nagpur for it. We tried to replicate the same thing in Pune. We have got a 45 crore premium, and the flip to this is also that HDFC Bank has come on board in Pune. So we've tried to use these as the add-ons to basically try and make it more better in terms of the returns, and try and see if we can, because the 5th year onwards we have a 5-year loan moratorium, and the 6th year onwards the loan repayment also starts. Now, if the fares do not compensate for enough ridership and fares, if these don't constitute, then we go back to the state government with a begging bowl for the interest cost payment as well as for the principal repayment. If this 1% and the 4 FSI, we are at least able to take care of the interest cost payment very clearly. That's coming out from here. We have tried to redesign our stations in such a way. Pune, for example, very exciting market overall from a real estate perspective also. We have a lot of points where we are developing, for example, multimodal hubs in 3 or 4 places in Pune. I think those can be huge potential opportunities of real estate development. But having said that, in today's scenario, obviously the last 2 years have been extremely challenging. To add to this is this corona problem that's come in. I think we are definitely going to have a very, very tough time in being able to sustain on the revenue side very clearly. But I think as time progresses, when we complete the metro project, we are hopeful both Nagpur and Pune will have decent amount of ridership, and in the meantime we will also see some recovery happening probably on the real estate side, and we'll try and do a balanced mix to enhance the revenues.
All right.
I think
I'd like
Mr. has something to say.
Yeah, I'd like Mr. Kumar Keshav to give his comments on this. You're on mute, Mr. Keshav. I think you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry. I will agree with the Elias George that metro projects are not to be taken on face value of financial rate of return. These have got large social benefits. So economic rate of return is probably the right way of checking it. And that's what metro policy of 2017 also says. The issue comes, as you rightly said, whether 27 metros is very small numbers in a country like ours. Metro policy says 2 million plus cities should plan for the metros. There are 32 cities in the country which have already got 2 million plus population. So means 32 metros should be sanctioned, not exactly 27. We are still way behind. And 2 million plus is our own guideline in our country. Otherwise, all advanced world cities, million plus cities already have got a metro, not planning of a metro. Public transport is the need of the cities. This we have to agree. Public transport is required. You all know, everybody is reading the newspaper, how the air has improved, how much pollution has got reduced during this COVID situation in the cities particularly. Is not the related expenditure when this pollution was there on the health of the people was also a burden on the government? They should take out something from that, devote it on the public transport. More, otherwise, if this public transport or metro is not the option, then what is the option? More and more personalized mode of transport. Roads are already congested. Parkings are already there. People talk about touching the surfaces. I again ask, if I may have my car, but I will ultimately take car and park somewhere, then who will touch my handle? How do I know? Metro can still sanitize all their trains, handles and everything, but personally, can I sanitize my vehicles? Every time I go out, is impossible. So probably metros are probably a COVID situation has again proved that a mass rapid transit system, which I will again emphasize, not because I am from metro, that railways is the right solution. Buses probably cannot do this type of a solution to us. Buses cannot run at every 3 minutes. Trains have to run, can run at every 3 minutes, like I tell you. And we always talk about ridership. I will again say, when we started Delhi Metro, I was part of it. We started Shahadra-Tisazari with 6,000 passengers per day. Today it is more than 30 lakhs. And had Metro not been there, what would have been the situation of Delhi? Had Bombay Suburban not been there, what would have been the situation of Bombay? So it is an investment which country has to find out. And my feeling is more and more urban transport projects have to come if we want to make cities. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, sir. Right. We've called it the lifeline. Yeah, our webinar is calling the metro the lifeline. So we are saying that. Mr. Ramnath, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just had one thing to add to Kumar Keshavji and your question initially. I think the government has also probably changed stances in terms of the capex that was there. So, for example, a normal metro project based on the PHPDT that was evolving, it was costing us about 250 crores a kilometer on an average. What has happened is there have been a lot of changes from MoHUA's end, and the current head of MoHUA, Mr. Mishra, has been working very, very aggressively on trying to look at other modes of LRTs also coming across. We have been fortunate that one of the things that has come up, although Kumar Keshavji also knows about it and Mr. Ilyas George also knows about it, DMRC came up with this new concept also, which was presented, which is called Metro Light. But Maha Metro has also come up with a new concept called Metro Neo. There's still a lot of work going on in it, but this is rapid bus transport system, which is tire-based buses without an actual guided form of it. So this is for a small city like Nashik. And what happens is the capex really reduces to almost, so if a normal metro is 250 crores, a metro light is probably about 100, 125 crores, 150 crores. Metro Neo is today less than 100 crores per kilometer, okay, with an ability to scale up. So for a city like Nashik, for example, although as both of them have mentioned, the payback will not be, these projects cannot be looked at from a payback perspective, but it is probably a cheaper and an efficient mode of faster and planned organized transport. So Metro Neo is in Nashik is for smaller cities. So this entire plan of Government of India to provide transport system of a very, very organized fashion is something which is also being amplified for smaller cities in the form of a Metro Neo or a Metro Light that is coming up with lower capex and better return on investment overall.
Right. I'd like to now, I think the execution of projects is another area which requires a lot of effort, and I think Lucknow Metro has achieved the distinction of being the fastest ever executed metro project. Mr. Keshav, would you like to highlight some key measures that were taken in order to make this happen?
Very briefly, if I say, very practical approach in solving the problems of the contractors. Projects get delayed because the problems are, because these are very difficult projects in an urban environment. Problems are bound to be there. So probably Lucknow Metro was very proactive in solving the problems of the contractors and the designers. That was one thing. Another thing which we did it for the first time was the integrating some of the technical systems like rolling stock and signaling be integrated as one tender. We saved the cost also, but it was very fast. Otherwise, usually in India, all metros, including Delhi Metro, has got rolling stock separate and signaling as a separate contract. Probably this is another achievement which Lucknow Metro has done, and we are again for Kanpur and Agra also we are going as an integrated contract. Then at the end, I will say that it was a highly motivated team of LMRC, Lucknow Metro at that time. My contractors, my general consultants, even vendors, even the construction workers. We were determined to do it in time, and that's what probably got us really well.
So I think, yeah, facilitating contractors is definitely one of the aspects, because we know that contractors get held up for want of so many permissions. And yeah, Mr. Bhushan, yes, you want to add something to that?
I want to second that, because I was AFC contractor for Lucknow Metro, and I witnessed the speed at which Mr. Kumar Keshav took the decisions. You need just one meeting, he hears the problem and delivers the decision there itself. So that lightning speed decision making really helped us to move forward fast.
Right. So I think one is that, yes, government has to facilitate, and like Mr. Kumar, Mr. Bhushan just mentioned, we have to have a green light for getting into execution as quickly as possible. But there is the other aspect of actually the technologies, and I'd like Mr. Gupta to address this part, that are there technologies that we are still toying with in terms of implementation to expedite these executions? Do we really need a good sizable equipment inventory with us as a contractor to implement these things?
Well, Pratapji, firstly, I would like to really appreciate what Mr. Keshav has said, because any project, it's basically however good the contractor is or the officer is, it's basically the problem solving. So that attitude, the mentality, I really, I would say very few departments they have, though I have been having a good experience with most of them. But this is, I really appreciate, sir, for this remark. And coming to the technology, as you have rightly said, Pratapji, the main issue right now, and I would at least for a year or two, and of course this issue is one after the other, because India is also growing. We are developing very fast. So the issue would be availability of manpower, the pricing, and the time limits, because as we all know, all the cities are getting congested day by day. The population, the traffic intensity, and everything. So metro, I would say, is one of the biggest solution for the transportation system, wherein if we try for more and more mechanization, more and more precasting system, like in Mumbai Metro, I think I'll take this lead to say that J. Kumar was one of the leading person in this system, sir, where Kumarji, we have made the whole station except the foundation and pier, which was cast in situ. The entire station was precast, including all the concourse pier arms, platform pier arms, all the concourse level slabs, platforms, everything. So more and more precasting would help in speeding up the metro projects, having less number of traffic issues to be handled. The labor productivity will be, with less labors you can have more productivity. So I think precasting is one big solution, and having, as you rightly said, Pratapji, we need to latest technology machineries. And I think Indian contractors, we all are very adaptive to accept new technologies, getting new machineries into the country. Like we have got a new machinery to launch even the precast elements. So let us see how it goes. So more and more technological input, getting new machineries, working by mechanized methods, involving less labors, and more precasting. That's one of the biggest way to solve this big task, because it's a massive job.
Right. What about equipment, Mr. Gupta?
As I mentioned, you talk of any equipment today, Indian contractors are no way behind anyone. Like if you see from Metro Phase 1, I think Kumar Keshavji would appreciate what I'm trying to say. In the Phase 1, you had all the foreign companies like Samsung, like Mitsubishi, those companies coming in India and executing the jobs. But when you talk about phase 3, like 2010 itself, when the Delhi Metro came up with phase 3, all the works were being executed by even by J. Kumar on its own. So we own new brand tunnel boring machines, let it be launchers, let it be anything, and not even a single piece of work was being taken up by foreign companies. So the equipment has to be good. Either it may be owned or it may be hired. But I think that is the latest machinery availability is the key to success for taking up such works. And every good contractor needs to work with the latest technology machines so that more and more mechanized methods and more faster implementation can be taken up.
Right. Moving on to, one of the 3 pillars of the, I would say, the Metro Policy 17. One of them was that a unified metropolitan transport authority was mandated, and to bring about an integrated approach in planning and management. And this statutory body and the mobility plan should be prepared and issued by the body only, and no other agency should be given to this particular task. Otherwise, the benefits of integration are lost. So right now we are talking about metro, but obviously all the other elements of transport, all the feeder transport, etc., are not integrated into this, and we don't know yet how this is going to pan out. So I want to go to Mr. George and know his views, how this is going to actually, are we going to have another silo of metros separately, buses separately, everything else is, you don't have a seamless sense of travel.
Yes, as Mr. Kumar Keshavi said, metros are the central nervous system of a city. They are the city's lifeline. When you fix the metro problem, you fix the housing problem, the commute problem, the work problem, the investment problem, the health problem, etc. It's a one-shot solution to all the ills of urban India now. So that's point number 1. And point number 2 is there is a huge migration happening across the world in urban transit from private vehicles to public transport. Sharing, connected, autonomous, these are the new buzzwords. And when you build a metro, there's a lot of disruption in the whole traffic system of the city. And that is the time to build an IMTA into place so that the metro does the long reaches, you put the last mile connectivity bit, and you integrate the entire public transport system around this whole network of the metro. And that's the way to do it. In Kerala, a couple of months back, they finally, I think it's the first state to have a proper bill. They have an Inter Act in the state. But having said that, that is only the first thing to do. Now we have legislative integration in the state of Kerala, for instance. You have to change people's mindsets. You have to coax all the owners, the bus owners, the car walas, the taxi companies, etc. It's a very, very complex process. But my guess is forgetting the benefits of a metro, solving the city's problems, so migrating the car users into a seamless public transport system. The state governments have to work on the legislation part, on the capacity building part, on the convincing people part, and so on. Once that happens, my guess is, especially after COVID, etc., as again Mr. Keshav mentioned, there's going to be a large-scale migration of people from cars into public transport systems, and like in the advanced cities of the world, like in London or other Barcelona or other places. It's something we need to do in the next 2 or 3 years to fix India's urban ills. First, among the one of the first things in an urban wish list would be having an UMTA in place for all our cities.
So I think the statistic of use of public transport in cities from, I think, roughly 18% now needs to really, should actually jump up once by 2022 we have more than 20 cities sporting metro lines. I think the dependence on public transport indicates the smartness of the city to an extent. And futuristic AFC solutions are again now coming in, especially because of COVID times. So you want contactless kind of arrangements, and I'd like Bhushan, Mr. Bhushan, to come in here now and tell us about what kind of face recognition, account-based ticketing systems, AI, machine learning, etc., big data. What are these elements being incorporated in the futuristic, metro systems?
Yes. Yeah. So yes, I think that's the future. But I mean, let me tell you very frankly, while the technology do exist, in a different form of shape. How do we adapt it? Whether it is adaptable is a different angle. Let's take a very simple example of this video conferencing technology. This is available for last 2 decades we are using in IT industry. How often we have used it in government meetings? How often we have used in metro meeting? So the technology do exist. How do we use it is a different ballgame. This is just an example. So similarly, now we're talking about different technologies. I mean now, for example, face recognition. So yes, technology do exist, but it needs to mature for the speed in terms how many faces it can store and how within how many fraction of second it can detect, how many simultaneous faces it can detect. So technology is improving. It needs to go a little ahead to be usable. But after it becomes usable, will we use it? It's a different question. Let's take an example of RRTS Setu app now. Now we have a Bluetooth connectivity technology used to trace the contact tracing to say are you in a vicinity of infected people. But you have seen the debate. You have seen the debate of privacy concerns, what is happening in India. So you can now imagine if you start identifying a people faces and then trying to this for ticketing, you will have other challenges arising out. So yes, technology exists. So we need to see whether in Indian context how much we can use it. Now talking about say artificial intelligence, yes, Datamatics also have started working on it, and we have even demonstrated some chatbots which can interact with the people and allow you to buy tickets. We have demonstrated a few of them in recent exhibitions. On a mobile app, you can talk to chatbot and book your tickets. The same chatbot can be ported on ticket vending machines or on the ticket window machines, where people can use and talk to bot to buy their tickets. But again, here the technology has to mature more to understand the Indian tone, Indian languages. So yes, it is working in English to an extent. Need to mature ahead. The AI can also be used for predicting the demand of the traffic, predicting and using that for scheduling the trains or scheduling the maintenance. One of the very key aspect which can be very helpful in metro environment is predicting the failure. Predicting the failure. The AI can learn from different thousands of sensors in the metro system, be it sensors from the signaling system, from the train, or from the AFC system. All those sensors data can be fed to the AI, and then if we give the sufficient data, the AI can help you to predict fault ahead of time, and it can detect something is going wrong, and it can warn you. But AI is only as good as the quality of the data you get it. So yes, I feel that's yes.
Will this help bring down costs? Because if you can predict traffic at certain times, if you can be more prepared with all the sensors and the data, would that help bring down cost overall?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you can break down your maintenance issues, your accidents, it helps you to save lives. It helps you to reduce your maintenance issues, and definitely it will bring down your cost drastically. Because before if something is damages, you go and do the preventive maintenance, because you are getting the census data and predicting that X machine or X motor is going to fail. Go and do the preventive maintenance. So that is going to help. This analytics can also be used for a planning purpose of stations. When we do the planning, right now everything is done mathematically with mathematical modeling. Why can't AI be used for doing a planning? If you have sufficient data from existing metros and use it for predicting the traffic flow, predicting footfalls, the AI can be used. While you right now calculate footfall using a mathematical models, that's a scientific way. But AI can do it in a different way and help you in the planning phase as well, even before you start the meeting.
Okay, I'd like to now introduce a poll for the next question that I had. We are running, Mr. Bhushan, we are running a little short of time, so I need to do this poll. This is a poll. Please look at your screens, audience. This is what we are going to see is that what will be the biggest impact due to metro rail networks in the cities. One of the options are real estate prices of areas close to stations will rise. Need to organize private transport will reduce, as Mr. Keshav and everyone else was saying. Traffic on roads will ease. Jobs in companies located next to metro stations become more attractive, or retail shops at metro stations will attract maximum business. which is the biggest impact due to metro rail network? Which of these 5 options you feel is the biggest? Please vote, and we can then put this question forth, because real estate is indeed a big element. Okay, so we are getting in the results in the next 5 seconds. I think again, this might also surprise the panelists, what the audience feels about which is the biggest impact. Okay, so we've got the answers now. 48% of the audience feels that the traffic on roads will ease, and 22% feel that the real estate prices of areas close to stations will rise. So I think the panelists will be happy to note that if real estate prices are going to rise, I think the sustainability of metro projects will be in better hands now. So by an obvious interpretation of metro rail, if this is where the demand is going to come from, then I think our sustainability of this project is on the right track. Let's put it this way. But I wanted to ask Mr. Elias about the Hyderabad Metro Rail is actually facing this challenge of making the return on investment, because it has really spent a lot of money on this whole project. It is the only all the other projects are generally government owned, and this was in the PPP sphere. How do you see the PPP mode of constructing projects? Will it take off? I think Mr. Sridharan has been very categorical in this, that this cannot work in this mode. What are your views?
See, it's tied up to a larger question about the fate of PPP projects in India. Till about 2012, I was looking at the figures. India's infrastructure investment, 40% of the private sector. Now it's come down to 20%. It's not a viable figure for any country in the world. You can't build infrastructure with public money alone. So the Sridharan had some specific concerns about Hyderabad. I don't want to go there, but very valid ones. Larger question is the way, as we all know that the largest cities in India need metros. And we all know that money is required, and to monetize the land to bring in private investment is a big question there. So basically, what is happening in India is that the PPP legal and procedural architecture is very, very feeble. What we do is we tend to push out all the risk into the private sector, including land acquisition risk, etc. So people are not secure about investing money in these kind of joint venture projects. That's one thing we need to fix. A very, very stable policy, regulatory environment so that the private investor has security for his money over 30 years of his investment or 20 years of investment. If you can get that right, money will come flowing in. Secondly, as we all know, the value capture financing, we are still trying to find out what's a good model for it, transit-oriented development. The poll said that people are very, very confident about land value going. So the challenge is, if that can be translated into very good financial instruments, we get the laws right, we get the risk sharing right, a lot of money will come into metros, because metros are a very safe, secure. Nobody is going to leave a metro half completed. What Lucknow did was remarkable. Others will improve upon it after a couple of years. It's a quick investment. The results will start bearing fruit. So we only need to get these things right, and I think we should go the big way, given the kind of demands we have on our public fisc, especially after the COVID world. The government cannot spend money on their own.
Right. I think private investment has been shy for the last few years, and that's what I think ease of doing business and with like the mindset, as Mr. Kumar Keshav has indicated. I think the authorities need to work as partners with contractors in that sense to bring about effectiveness of execution. So some questions coming up. People are saying that if Uber and Ola are ramping down in scenarios like now, how can metro authorities address the last mile challenge? Mr. Kumar Keshav, would you like to take that and say how we can manage this challenge?
Yes, this is a sorry. Yes, it is okay. This is a challenge because we also had tied up with the Uber for last mile connectivity, and now we all know that it is literally going down. So, but we have started talking about something else now. Very quietly have started talking to the rickshaw puller. There are in cities like Lucknow, there are the manual rickshaw pullers, which are huge in numbers. And we are tying up with them as a last mile connectivity for people, because small city people travel from the station for 1.5 kilometer or 2 kilometer. If they are not able to walk, they take a mode of transport. So that is one part which we are starting. We are talking about e-bikes also, e-bikes are there, motorcycles are there. These type of other modes of transport with whom we are talking. We had large number of e-rickshaws in Lucknow, but now e-rickshaws government is discouraging. Another problem is people are not happy with traveling with e-rickshaw, because in e-rickshaw 6-7 people travel, sit very closely to each other. So post-COVID, this will be a big problem for e-rickshaw. So e-rickshaws are gradually moving out. People will certainly like to prefer either sit alone in a rickshaw or alone on a bicycle. That is more safe for them while coming to the metro. So these type of the things which we have to work on means more and more going towards the non-motorized transport, which I am very, very clear.
Right. Mr. Ramnath, would you like to, there is a question on what is the norm for a city to be qualifying for a metro? So would you like to answer that?
No, I think it all very clearly depends on the PHPDT, which is the per hour per density traffic, and it basically depends on the city size. So there are various norms of LRT and your normal metros with different classifications of population. So typically 15 lakh plus a population is a city which can ask for a metro in a sense. The ideal situation will be 20 lakh plus, but we are looking at anything above 15 asking for a proper normal metro. Lower than that can be anything between 10 to 15 is an LRT model where the metro light now has come in. So, and all this has evolved over a period of time, and a city less than 10 lakh or 10 to 12 lakh can basically look at a high speed bus transport system, which was a BRT previously so far, which probably is not sustained primarily because of maintenance and things like that. So we can have a model of an LRT which has come in. So the high speed buses which are in place. So I think it depends on the population of the city, and based on the payback that is perceived and the population movement and the ridership is how this classification typically happens.
Right. Mr. George, I wanted you to address this particular question, that in terms of so various metro corporations can horizontally deploy best practices amongst each other so as to make the systems efficient and speed up the progress of completion of the project. I mean, are we having some kind of a system where there is a constant sharing between metro corporations in best practices in order so that we can, amongst us, we can do a little bit of copy paste rather than from the west to us?
I'm a little outmoded. Mr. Keshav may better answer that. But
yeah.
Apart from the formal systems of the Ministry of Urban Development, which sort of pulls us together, we also have a very informal, very few metros, and they're all kind of buddies. Same dilemmas they have, same problems. It's a very lively system of sharing information about new practices, things like bundling, which was spoken about, the rolling stock with the signaling. Things like what are the new models? Can we go into an annuity model where a private sector fellow invests in the entire mobile part of the metro and we pay him back to an annuity? These are lively discussions against going on in this metro world, and that's the best way. That's the best way to sort of bring in efficiency into all our metro systems.
Mr. Keshav, you want to answer that?
Yes, I was just like to add what Elias has just now mentioned. Now we have got a platform called iMetro. It is called Indian Metros iMetro platform, where all metros are part of it. And you'll be happy to know that we are on a common WhatsApp group. All informations are shared on that. All our SOPs for opening of the metro post-COVID have been worked out collectively by the metros together, and including the metros like Metro 1 of Mumbai and even Hyderabad. Even from private sector, all are part of it. So we are sharing this information on, but it has to be really made very, very functional with annual events, something like that, some seminars. Right now it is more informal, probably came into life more because of the COVID situation.
So I think we've come to the end of our webinar. I'd like to thank our sponsors, J. Kumar Infra Projects and Datamatics. Thank you very much, panelists. Thank you, Mr. Kumar Keshav, Mr. Ramnath Subramaniam, Mr. Bhushan, Mr. Elias George, and Mr. Nalan Gupta for participating in this webinar. I think we can see that India is progressing along these lines, where more than 25 cities likely to be in the next couple of years to be connected by metro, the increase in emphasis on public transport. And I think execution has already been shown to be, even in densest of cities like Mumbai and Delhi, moving at a fast pace. So I think even though this challenge of COVID has come, we seem to be taking care of that, absorbing it in our stride, and moving towards the right track in business. So, and for all citizens. So with that, we come to the end of this webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you for being part of it, audience. Stay safe, stay healthy, and
Pratapji,
let's
before we
get.
sign off, I would just
Yes.
like to make one small request, because we have many senior people from the metro segment here, is that
Right.
Kumar sir, as you have the point that you mentioned was about the problem resolution of is the key to success. I would just like to put up a small wish from my side, which is, I think, from all the infrastructure contractors and industrial people would be really concerned about, is the COVID problem compensation in the form of COVID, because for the clauses of force majeure says that, you take care of your problems, we take care of our problems. But any good learned contractor cannot anticipate such type of pandemic, the cost involved in it, because there are huge fixed costs to any good infrastructure company or any industrialist. So the fixed cost is a real big killing factor of salaries, whether it is wages, your fixed machinery cost, your accommodation. So there are various costs to it. So if you, being one of the senior person into the metro sector, I think I've also spoken to like other, I don't know name, but to other metro authorities. So in this, if you people take it, a consolidated some to really
Approach,
the
yeah.
cost incurred. So that's one of the wish. That's it.
I think
I'm
force
done.
measure is being recognized. We spoke, Mr. Keshav, we also spoke earlier in some of the other infrastructure part of our series of conclaves, and the government seems to be recognizing this, because this is a countrywide phenomenon, and in fact global phenomenon. What do you say?
I will not be able to say officially, but unofficially I can say what I feel. Me and my contractors, whosoever is working with me, we are in this problem together. We cannot pass on bucks to each other. We have to probably mutually share some of the losses which contractors are incurring. Metro companies probably should do, but I don't know what the government's view will be. I will ultimately be able to handle it through the contractual provisions. But force majeure is one extent. Another extent is that yes, metro companies should come forward and try to bear something out of the losses which contractors have borne. And actually nobody would have anticipated it. And as I always say, they are our partners. So it is more important for me that my contractors remain sustainable financially. That's what my view is.
All right. I think on that note, let's hope for the best, and let's get our nation on track. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.